Hey guys, welcome to Tuesday's video. This is week 5. We're on the op-ed paper. We don't have much to do for today, so let's just jump right in. As you can see, we're going to talk a little bit about research, and there are 2 pages in Jack which will help you a little bit with this. Those you can skim. It's just about citation styles and works cited and in-text citations. You guys have already been practicing that. I've had a couple of other videos on that, so if you're still struggling with it, let me know. I always try to gear you toward accurate citation in my feedback, and also your peers are doing a good job of helping you kind of polish up your in-text and works cited pages. So for this video, I'm going to focus on the lifeguarding paper because we're going to look at the structure very briefly to help you get an idea of organization and structure, which is tomorrow's video. As you can see here, there are a couple of ways that Jack introduces in terms of organization, and then for your peer review, which is discussion 17 due tomorrow at 6 p.m., I'm asking that you post 300 to 400 words of your op-ed. As I think I've mentioned before, I don't care which 300 to 400 words. I just want it to be like a section of your paper. So it might be the introduction, it might be the first body paragraph, it might be the conclusion, just anything that your peers can give you feedback on. And then, of course, discussion 18 is whenever you actually do the feedback, and then the op-ed is due this Friday at 11:59 p.m. I'm also going to have your qualitative research papers back to you as soon as possible. Many of you have gotten them already. That's great. Just please be patient with those because they are, as you know, the longest paper you'll do in this entire class. So here is the lifeguarding paper, as I mentioned before. I wanted to go over this one because the student who wrote this and I spent a lot of time editing it, and I think it's a really great example in addition to the 4 op-ed samples that you have online already. So we're just going to go through it very briefly, and then I'm going to focus on how the student uses research. I'm going to show you a few tricks for research, and we're not going to cover it super in depth like we did for the qualitative research paper and the annotated bib, because you are probably more familiar with Google than you were with the library databases, so I don't need to bore you to tears with a Google instructional guide. Okay, lifeguarding, more than just getting a tan. Again, we'll get to titles toward the end of the week. And this introduction is something that the student and I collaborated on heavily because it was just kind of like a almost cliched opening where she's just mentioning like it's summer, it's hot, there's water. It wasn't this simplistic. I'm obviously reducing it, but it was something that I had read a lot of. So that's something in Thursday's video I talk about with showing and telling how to create creative introductions so you can actively engage your readers, and that kind of goes for any paper. You want to make sure you have a good hook, the first line of your paper, to engage your readership, because otherwise they're just going to pass over your research, pass over your scholarship, pass over your opinion article, whatever you're writing. Which is also really relevant for personal statements, for cover letters, for any kind of job application piece. I always think about how this writing that I'm training you toward can apply in your real lives if you're not all, writing a novel or whatever. So I work with a lot of students at the writing studio in terms of cover letters, medical school applications, etc. And we all kind of focus on what committees are concerned with and how a person can stand out. And how you can stand out is by having a more creative / story-driven introduction, in addition to talking about your credibility and what you could bring in terms of to their school or their program or whatever. Okay, so here we have sun. Pool goers stretched out on lounge chairs, evening out tan lines, children leaping off the diving boards into the deep end, laughter and splashing, making white noise pleasant, a song. A sharp whistle cuts, hedge jolts, peace disturbed. A red-clad body enters the water. Confusion. Suspense. Finally, 2 heads burst through the stillness of the water. The victim is unconscious. A backboard helps remove the unconscious to the hospital. The guard kneels beside the victim and places 2 fingers under their jaw. No pulse, 911, CPR. After 30 compressions, the lifeguard checks for signs of breathing. Nothing. 2 rescue breaths enter. The lifeguard begins the second cycle of CPR, and an ambulance trills close. EMS worker takes over the situation, but the lifeguard was the first real responder. It's hard to believe someone who could be as young as 15 is responsible for a life. Responsible for the life, yet they're making the same wages as someone working at a drive-thru. Lifeguards should receive higher wages because they must pay for their certification out of pocket and administer crucial life-saving care. Okay, so as you can see here, there's a lot of like fragmented language, which works pretty well in this scene of everything's going well, and then the services of the lifeguard are needed. The lifeguard then saves a swimmer's life, and then she gets directly to her thesis statement, which is this here. So they should receive higher wages, that's her argument, and then her reasoning behind her argument are 2 things. And I would say limit them to 2 to 3 things for the length of this paper. It's super short. So their certification they must pay for out of pocket, and they administer crucial life-saving care. So then she goes on to talk about certification, which is number 1 she talks about here, so it makes sense for it to be number 1 in the paper since your thesis is like a roadmap or the DNA of your paper. So she talks about that. She gets down to how she's using research. So we see here there's an in-text citation. And through WVU, the cost of this course, she's talking about an aquatic safety course, can range from $300 for members to $325 for non-members. So she got that information, and you'll notice it's a paraphrase, not a direct quote. You can use either in this paper. She got it from Safety, I think it was in the in-text citation. Student. So I'm going to match it with student. And as you can see here, there's no author. So if there's no author and there's no editor, the third thing you go to after author and editor would be the title of the article. And this is the title, I'm assuming, of the entire website. This is the publisher. She didn't put the date. That was her bad. But then she has the URL. So Student Rec Center, neither one of these other source citations are titled student, so she wouldn't need to write out the entire Student Rec Center. So job is the only thing she would need to put, and lifeguard is the only thing she would need to put here. So let's see if she does that. So we have this is correct. And then let's look for the next place she uses research, job. Okay, so then she's talking about her second point, which is the crucial life-saving nature of being a lifeguard. So in this sentence, according to Pizza Hut's job description, and I'm not entirely sure why she chose Pizza Hut. I think she was just thinking about like what is the most typical minimum wage job, and I was thinking like flipping burgers or something like that, but she chose Pizza Hut. According to Pizza Hut's job description, a delivery driver's duties include using mental math skills to make change, maintaining a clean driving record, and navigating their delivery area. All right, so she does have it correct here, job, and you'll notice the period is on the outside. And then let's go to the next use of research, and then we're going to actually check out the websites that she went to. Okay, so however, the job description for a lifeguard lists things such as inspecting the aquatic facility for unsafe conditions to prevent accidents, scanning patrons to ensure safe behavior and compliance of rules, and acting in emergency situations to utilize first aid and CPR assistance up to his or her training. Okay, so yes, she has this correct in quotation marks. She has a comma here separating the title of the article and a note. So one thing you can do in order to add emphasis in a quote or paraphrase, this is mostly for quotes, and I'm not sure if she meant to have quotes around this. We can check on the website to see if she direct quoted or not. Which again, if you do direct quote, you must put quotation marks around them. This is a draft that I'm showing you here, so I'm sure by the final portfolio we would fix that. But if you add emphasis, you can italicize the part that you want to emphasize, and then you, in parentheses, in the in-text citation, you can just put emphasis added or emphasis mine, M-I-N-E. That just tells the reader that this was not italicized in the original quote. It is something that you wanted to stress, especially for the purposes of your argument. So that looks like it's all her research that she used in the entire paper. So down here you can see she has them listed alphabetically, and these for the most part are correct. She didn't change a couple of things here in terms of date. That's where I had written in, and she just copied over and not went back in and changed it. But that's okay. It is a draft. All right. So on this is the Pizza Hut website that she referenced. So here, description requirements, job skills requirements, etc. It looks like she picked a couple of these and paraphrased them. So that's one way, obviously, to do it. And then this here, so this is the official Pizza Hut website. It's not obviously an academic journal article, but like I said in Monday's video, a lot of your sources are not going to come from academic journal articles, as they're not academically inclined subjects for the most part. So here, lifeguardcertification.net. So this is a network website. It's a little bit more substantial or credible than just like lifeguard blog or something like that. Try not to do any blogs. So it looks like she just use this to again talk about working conditions and the duties and responsibilities. The last one is a WVU website. A lot of students tend to use WVU websites just because they are talking about WVU issues like transportation, as I've mentioned in yesterday's video, or even Morgantown issues can be addressed in WVU sites. So she looked specifically at aquatics and lifeguarding in terms of what WVU offers. So again, not a lot to do in terms of research. Just Google your topic, make sure that it's as credible as possible. So this one's very relevant because it is associated with the school and with her topic. This one, like I mentioned, it's the lifeguardcertification.net. So like the Red Cross would be good, or CDC a student uses to talk about Adderall, I believe. And then this, again, I would look more widely at a couple of different minimum wage jobs in order to get a bigger sampling. That's what I would recommend for her. But for now, this is passable / substantial enough. Her writing really is what is the champion of this paper in terms of the introduction and the structure and a little bit of how she incorporates research. Okay, so I'm going to show you one more thing in this video, and then the next one will be strictly about organization. So if you include a direct quote, let's just go to one of these websites and pull a direct quote. So let's say I'm going to use this in my paper. So I start a new paragraph or whatever, wherever I'm going to place it in my paper. Obviously, the first thing I want to do is I want to put quotation marks around it so that I do not accidentally plagiarize by not having quotation marks around it. And then I would make sure the font is the same. So this is Times New Roman, this is Arial, and so that's something, just a formatting thing at the very end I would change. All right, so then I would make sure I have my in-text citation. This was from Lifeguard. And I put Lifeguard here because we don't have a specific author. We don't have an editor. Therefore, the third thing we do is we look at the article title. And then this would be the website title. Okay? So I put that all here and I have my period. Let's say I want to omit information. Let's say scans the area of surveillance. So let's just say of surveillance I take out. What I would put here is 3 ellipsis points to make sure that the audience knows, or the reader knows, I have omitted information. let's undo that. And let's say I add information. Scans area of surveillance, scans area, let's say of the pool, which would be clunky and I wouldn't really add this. But if you want to add information, you put it in brackets like I did here to let the reader again know this is your information. And then you know the rule about emphasis added. So those are pretty much the rules in terms of research, quoting. There are others, but these are the most relevant for you guys. So let me know if you have questions and stick around for tomorrow's video.